So people always ask me, why do you think Shark Tank has been so impactful? And when you think about major television shows, probably 98% of them have not lasted past 10 years. Why does Shark Tank last so long? Well, I think whether you know it or not, you're still learning. And I'm still learning, believe it or not. And that's why the sharks keep coming back after a decade. We keep learning. We learn the fundamentals of business, and it repeats often some things that we already know, and sometimes we have forgotten what we learned. And I learn from each one of the sharks. Of course, I learn from the entrepreneurs. Well, you think about it, I learn from each one of the sharks, and you learn from each one of the sharks, and you learn from the entrepreneurs. Let's take Barbara, for instance. What do I learn from Barbara? She always trusts her instincts, her gut. Too often, if we don't know the fundamentals, we'll go off and let somebody else tell us why we should be doing something. But if we keep going back to the fundamentals that we learned already, everything else just feeds into what we know. What else I learned about Barbara? She knows how to market and brand out of nowhere. She pulls it out of the thin air. You see me? I know my skill set. I love to go and find celebrities or find great products or use my distribution pipeline. But Barbara will be super creative. She really knows how to activate the power of broke. She knows how to tap into influencers because she thinks outside of the box. Let's look at Robert. Robert's super technical. Robert digs down into the numbers. He looks at how will this perform over a certain period of time. Also, what is his time expense? Not necessarily the investment, but Robert will say, I'm already running a huge business. How much of my time will this take out? This may cost $100,000 in investment, but it may cost $2 million in time. And that's what we call phantom income, phantom expenses. So a lot of times when you're looking at the numbers, the hard numbers, are you putting everything else in order with the numbers and in sync with the numbers that will cost you? It's kind of like somebody saying, I'm going to give you a free dog. And then after you get the free dog, you thought about all the money you saved, and then you realize you got to walk the thing, take the thing to the vet, you got to get a babysitter for the dog, then you got to buy all the other things. There's no such thing as a free pet. And Robert likes to show you that, and that's the fundamentals. You look at the hidden and the phantom expenses. What does Cuban do? He does not want you to be a wantrepreneur. He wants to know that you're an entrepreneur. And how does that come out in the things he's saying? Some of the first things he said before he gets an investment with you, he says, all right, I like everything you're talking about now. How is your paperwork? How is your structure? He doesn't want you to show up with a shoebox with a bunch of receipts and call that your books. So it goes back to the fundamentals, the numbers. How are you keeping things in order? Where's your legal? Let's look at Kevin. Kevin, Mr. Royalty. But Kevin also was what you call a disciplined investor, and he wants to know that if he gives you a valuation of 4 times your gross, he wants to know, will he make that money back in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? That is your initial investment. That's exactly what you put out. Remember, real entrepreneurs are not fly by the seat of their pants people. They keep educating themselves, and here's what they do. They invest what they really have. They look at their assets, meaning how many hours do I have to invest in this? How much money do I have to invest in this? How much inventory do I have to invest in this? What family members can I use? What is my education? How much money do I have to invest in my future education on this and grow this product and or brand? Let's look at Lori. Lori likes to home in because she knows her customer. She's been on QVC for 15 years and she knows her customer's age. She knows where her customer lives, what her customer likes, what her customer doesn't like. If you really look at her when she's breaking down her customer, she knows that the traditional QVC customer buys, and they're very selfish, they buy for themselves, right? So she won't buy a product that's really for men because she knows if her customer is anywhere between 30 to 60 years old, who buys for the household but primarily buys for themselves first, and they like products that are either under $100 or in this category, she is going to do that, meaning she knows her customer. She is directly targeting market to a customer. If she likes a product and it doesn't hit her customer, Then she just won't buy the entire company or invest in the company. She'll just buy one. And how about me? I like to know where is your marketing and branding and how are we going to save that amount of money, because that's the black hole in the world. When you start having to say, well, should I take out newspaper ads? Should I take out billboards? What about pay-per-click? What about influencers, social media? What about a media, a PR person? What are you going to do? Are you going to have planes outside with beautiful skywriting? I like to know that you've had that all figured out, because then that we know is how much we're going to spend on there for customer acquisition. And then I want to know that you have the product and the product is worked out and all the kinks are worked out, so I can put it in my distribution pipeline, meaning that you have some kind of proof of concept. You know that your product is $9.99, you sell 60% of this color, and you sell 30% of this color, and here's who your customer is. And you only know that by a small level of proof of concept. And then I'll know, where can we put that product? Are we going to go in low-end chains, class for the mass, middle-end chains? Are we going to go in high-end chains, luxury? Are we going to go only online? Are we going to split it between online and distribution through stores? Are we going to have ambassadors selling it, like the Avon model? Or are you going to sell a monthly subscription? But when we're on the tank, I'm learning, I'm listening to what they're saying, and I'm human. I may go off course for a second and say, oh, I want to go into this. And then Barbara will say something. I'll go, you know what? You're right. I'm going back to the fundamentals. My gut tells me there's something wrong here, or it's just not for me, but I wasn't trusting my gut. Or Cuban will then ask, well, how's your paperwork and everything else? And they may say, well, I don't really have an accountant, and we'll figure we'll get the names trademarked later on. And I go, I didn't ask that question, and I don't have the time to be their accountant or go over 10 years of their books, right? Robert may say, what do you want from me? And they may go, yeah, we want you to come with us on all the trips to all the stores so that we can make sure that we have the best deal. And I may say, wait a minute, this would have cost me $100,000 already, but it would have cost me $2 million because these people want me to go on every single trip that they go on to all the stores, anywhere from Nebraska to California to Japan. I can't do that. That's going to cost me way more than the initial investment. But it's that I'm learning. I'm constantly learning. And that's what you're doing when you watch a show. And that's why the show is successful, because you're learning, and the sharks stay on the show because we're learning. And all I can keep saying to you is I pray that you just keep learning.